You've never seen a fat cave person. Every drawing, every museum model, every movie, ancient humans are always lean, muscular, starving. But somewhere in human history, the first person got fat. Not fat from illness, not bloated from hunger, just soft and round and full in a way that would have made every other human who ever lived stop and stare, because they had never seen anything like it, and they never thought they would. And the story of when that happened and why is stranger than you'd think, because for most of human history, getting fat wasn't a problem. It was a miracle. Here is the strangest part. The oldest art humans ever made is not of animals or hunts or gods. It is of fat women. They are called the Venus figurines. Small stone carvings of women with round bellies, heavy hips, full bodies, and they are old. Older than farming, older than cities, older than writing. The oldest one ever found is around 40,000 years old, carved from mammoth ivory. That is not a small detail. Someone sat down 40,000 years ago and spent hours carving a fat woman out of a tusk. Think about what that means. This person was cold and tired and probably hungry. Their hands were likely cracked from the freezing air. And instead of resting, instead of sleeping, they chose to spend their precious energy making something. Not a weapon, not a tool. A small, round, fat woman carved with impossible care down to the folds of her body and the pattern woven into her hair. Why? Why would a starving Ice Age hunter spend that kind of time carving fat into stone? Because to them, fat was the most beautiful, most valuable, most impossible thing in the world. Here is a detail that stops you cold. Most of these figurines have no face, no eyes, no mouth, nothing. The one thing the carver did not think was important was the face. The body was everything. The fat was the whole point. Whoever made these was not carving a specific woman. They were carving an idea, and the idea was survival itself. To understand why, you have to understand how nearly impossible it was to get fat for almost the entire span of human existence. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans were hunter-gatherers. You ate what you could find, catch, or dig up. Some days you feasted. Many days you did not eat at all. Picture a single day. You wake before the sun, already hungry because you went to sleep hungry. You spend the entire day walking, tracking, searching. By afternoon, you find a herd and you chase and you throw everything you have at one animal and it gets away. Now the sun is going down. You have burned every scrap of energy you had, and you have nothing. You walk back to your group with empty hands, and tomorrow, you do it all again. Your body was a furnace that rarely got enough fuel. You walked miles every single day. You chased food, and food ran from you. Fat had no chance to build up, because the moment you stored any, your body burned it just to keep you alive. This is the world the Venus figurines came from, a world where being fat meant you had somehow beaten the odds. It meant survival. It meant safety. It meant you would make it through the winter when others would not. Imagine two people at the start of a brutal winter. One is lean and strong, a great hunter. The other carries extra weight on their body. When the snow comes and the animals vanish and there is nothing left to eat for weeks, the strong hunter's body has nothing to burn. But the heavier person is carrying their own food supply with them, wrapped around their body. Fat was not laziness. Fat was a walking pantry. In that world, it could be the single thing that decided whether you saw spring. So when did it change? When did fat go from miracle to problem? The answer begins about 12,000 years ago with the single most important thing humans ever did. We started farming. Farming changed everything. For the first time, humans could produce more food than they immediately needed. They could store it. Grain could sit in a pot for months. Suddenly, food was not something you chased. It was something you kept. This sounds like pure good news. And for survival, it was. But nobody in that first farming village could have possibly understood what they had just done. They had invented the world's first all-you-can-eat buffet and handed it to a body that had spent 2 million years training for a famine that was never coming back. And slowly, in these first farming villages, something appeared that the world had almost never seen before. A person with a soft, round body, not from disease, not swollen from starvation, which can happen in strange ways, but genuinely, healthily fat from simply having enough food, day after day, year after year. To everyone around them, this person would have looked extraordinary, blessed, even, a living sign that the gods were generous. But farming came with a hidden cost that nobody saw coming. The hunter-gatherer ate hundreds of different foods. The farmer ate mostly one, whatever crop they grew: wheat, rice, corn. And these crops were packed with something the human body had almost never encountered in large amounts before: starch, sugar, easy calories. The human body, built over millions of years to survive on scarcity, suddenly had a steady supply of exactly the kind of food that turns into fat most easily. The furnace finally had more fuel than it could burn. And the body did what it had always been desperate to do. It started storing. From your body's point of view, this was a dream come true. 2 million years of scraping by, And now, finally, endless food. Your body did not get the memo that this was permanent. As far as it was concerned, this incredible stroke of luck could end tomorrow, so it did the only sensible thing. It packed away everything it could for a winter that was never going to come. For a while, this was fine. Food was still work to grow, still took land and labor and time. A round belly stayed rare enough to remain a symbol of wealth. But then, in a tiny sliver of recent history, everything about how humans get food changed more than it had in the previous million years combined. At first, this was still a good thing. In early farming societies, being fat was a sign that you had food, and having food was power. For thousands of years, across nearly every early civilization, fat was the look of kings. In ancient Egypt, in Mesopotamia, in China, in the Pacific Islands, a large body meant wealth, health, and high status. A round belly was not something to hide. It was something to show off. It said, "I am so rich. I do not have to work for my food, and I never go hungry." In some cultures, it went even further. Wealthy Romans held feasts that lasted for hours, eating until they physically could not eat more. In parts of Africa, some societies had fattening rooms, where young women were deliberately fed rich food and kept from moving so they would gain weight before marriage, because a fuller body was considered more beautiful and a sign of a wealthy family. For thousands of years, across the entire planet, humans spent real effort trying to become the exact thing we now spend billions trying to avoid. For most of human history, if you wanted to show the world you had made it, you got fat on purpose. The thin person was the poor person. The fat person was the winner. So how did we get from there to here? From fat being the look of kings to fat being the thing everyone is trying to lose? The final flip happened incredibly recently, and it happened for a reason almost nobody expects. For the first time in human history, food became cheap, and really easy. In the last 100 years or so, a handful of countries figured out how to produce enormous amounts of food for almost no money and almost no effort. The exact same body that spent millions of years desperate to store fat, that treated every calorie as precious, that carved fat women into ivory because fat meant life. That same body was suddenly dropped into a world with unlimited cheap calories on every corner. The body did exactly what it was built to do. It stored. It stored and stored, the way it always dreamed of being able to, because for the first time ever, it could. The problem is, the fuel never stopped coming, and that is how we arrived at today. A world where the shelves are always full, where food is engineered to be as delicious and as easy to eat as humanly possible, and where the ancient hunger that once meant survival now quietly works against us every single day. We did not get weaker. The food got easier, and it never, ever stops. And this is the strange truth at the heart of it. Getting fat was never a modern failure. It was a modern success that arrived too fast for our ancient bodies to handle. The fat king and the modern dieter are the same person, the same body, the same ancient hunger for calories that kept your ancestors alive through every winter, every famine, every impossible year. The next time you feel that pull toward one more bite when you are not even hungry, that is not weakness. That is 40,000 years of ancestors who survived because they never, ever passed up a meal. You carry their hunger in you. It kept them alive. It carved beauty into stone, and it is still the same hunger, sitting quietly inside you, right now. 40,000 years ago, someone carved that hunger into ivory and called it beautiful. Tonight, it is still here, in you, part of the oldest story your body knows.